Alright, so I don't really have a fancy intro or anything to give you guys. This is just like a weird experimental thing where, weekly speed paints and commentating over it, because that's what cool kids are doing, and I won't be a cool kid. And also because I've noticed in the animation community, in the Warriors community especially, it seems that people have like a vendetta against male characters with eyebrows, or eyelashes rather. I don't know if people have noticed, I was in two maps for Shiny Arcs using their Hawkfrost design. And if you look in the comments of either of those maps, it's just full of people asking why A, Hawkfrost is a color point, and B, why does Hawkfrost have eyelashes? Is Hawkfrost a girl? No, he's not a girl. Eyelashes are not exclusive to female characters or even feminine characters. So I took it upon myself to take requests from the role playing group I'm on to draw some of my friends' characters on that site, particularly males, and ones that they could see with fancy eyelashes. So I have a variety. I went into a lot of face shape work with this. The character I'm drawing right now is Juniper Face, who is ShadowClan's deputy. And my reason for making him look kind of like a glorious foxy grandpa, as I put it, is because on that website we used quote unquote traditional naming, and traditionally on that website the suffix face usually is used for very, very, very pretty cats, and Juniper Face falls into that category of just being named Juniper Face because he's pretty. So I gave him long lashes, some kind of smug look on his face, mutton chops, a fluffy beard. I like doing this with long furred characters, even female ones, giving them bushy eyebrows and stuff. It just gives them a lot of characterization and kind of moves away from the stereotype of, or like it kind of forces you not to make all your fluffy characters with the same cheek tufts or whatever. In addition, for the most part, with the face shape, he relied heavily on triangles and looking luxurious and beautiful, and I tried to give him age lines, but it didn't work out very well. Longer ears, tufts at the tip, stuff like that. I really tried to hammer in the whole gorgeous old man knows how to sweet talk and whatnot. And the cat next to him that I wasted time talking over is Vulture Cry, who was described to me as a selfish brat, thus the reason he kind of looks like Breeze Pelt with that smug little pout. There it is. See? He looks like a little shit. This character, Brian Frost, was very fun to draw. He is probably the reason I asked my role playing group, because I really want to draw him, just because I love his name. He is a lawfully evil aligned Wind Clan cat, and if you don't know like D&D alignments, lawful evil is like the James Bond villains of alignments for characters. So Brian Frost is cunning, he's conniving, he's manipulative, he's got a silver tongue, if not a little cold around the edges. But he's good at hiding his true intentions. He's good at acting like he gives a shit and stuff like that. Thus the reason with his eyelashes I made his eyes a lot more narrow and pointier to kind of give him that questionable, uncomfortable, like he looks like a snake, but he might not be a snake look, kind of like Hawkfrost is in those maps. But I focused on keeping his face round and babyish, same with the ears, just because, like I mentioned earlier, he's blending in. He's pretending he gives a shit about his clan, but he doesn't. He has ulterior motives. He has kittens that he had with ulterior motives. I just really wanted to bank in on the fact that he's kind of a snake in the grass, in a sense. And he's also very pretty looking, and, the cat that's used for his face claim in general is just this very, very gorgeous animal. He looks so pretty, but he's a terrible person. And on the flip side, from evil characters or stoic characters or spoiled brats, I have Claypaw, who is an apprentice from, I believe, Shadow Clan? I'm not sure. I haven't interacted much with Claypaw. Or Sky Clan? I don't know where he's from. He's a little baby boy, and I know apprentices are just about as, they're like the same size as adult cats usually, but for whatever reason, when I draw apprentices, I try to give them very, like, big ears, big eyes, in Claypaw's case, because he's kind of, like, wondrous and oblivious to the world and a happy baby who's apparently going to be crushed. I gave him quote-unquote Disney princess eyes. They're all wide, they're all round. He looks very happy. He's just got a big doofy grin. And I also gave him very round, big ears, kind of like some people draw dove wing, because, like Tennille Flowers put it very nicely, I wanted him to kind of look cute and innocent and a little dumb. Not super dumb, but, He just looks like a doof. He looks almost like Pinky from Pinky and the Brain, which is, I think, what I was going for. Youthful, happy little guy. Doesn't realize that the world's a complete mess. Hopefully he's shielded forever. But I also just generally think of exaggerated large features with apprentice characters just because, you know, in adolescence they're lanky and weird looking. And next up we have Badger Claw, who is another lawfully evil aligned character. Didn't pay much attention to his eyelashes. Gave him very big blocky brows because he's very traditionally masculine in the sense that he's kind of like a big badass dad, knows what he's doing, but he has some questionable morals and motives in his clan. The cat I was referencing off of for him in general is very, very beefy and girthy in shape, so I kept him very blocky. Very handy thing for breaking same face syndrome with drawing cats is definitely playing around with basic shapes for the face of the head and not relying exclusively on that initial circle with the crosshair that a lot of people are taught to do. It can give a lot of variation and get a lot of character and personality across, even if he had like a deadpan expression. Like, you can get across that he's no nonsense, a serious dude, respected warrior, so on and so forth. And then there's Gracklefox, who he's a character of my own, so I can babble about him to my heart's content. He's a snake. I'm just going to say that outright. He's a manipulative, terrible snake who got a man killed solely for the sake of just kind of getting a laugh out of it and causing chaos in his clan. I gave him very diva-esque eyelashes, similarly to the Hawkfrost thing. Again, running off of Hawkfrost because, while he's a terrible person, he's good at lying. He's a diva, he's a drama queen, and I tried to get that across with how he looks a little more feminine and pretty, and he has this smug little look on his face, and I could have made him more shit-eating because I really wanted to get across that he's the kind of guy you want to smack just for looking at you because he's just such a little shit. I really like how he came out. I could talk more about him, but this is mostly about my process and designing characters and all that fun stuff, so I'll spare the Gracklefox lore dump and instead babble about this next character who, if you saw me check off prematurely, is pipitpetal, who is a warrior turned medicine cat of Wind Clan. And the reason I mention that he's warrior turned is because when I was drawing him, I tried to remember that he used to be a warrior before he became a medicine cat. Thus the reason, like, if he were a medicine cat forever, I would have made him much, much rounder in shape because I don't imagine medicine cats do a ton of fighting. He didn't do a lot of fighting even as a warrior, which is the reason why he still kind of looks a little pudgy and round. But, yeah, I managed to make him a little muscular. You'll see when I do draw in his neck, he still looks kind of, like, I guess thick in a sense. I also tried not to fall into my habit and other people's habits of constantly making short-furred cats with the same, like, pointy face to them. Because, with pipitpetal especially, he was named pipitpetal, with petal as the suffix because of the fact that he was so maternal and friendly and feminine looking. So I tried to get that round, happy, friendly, wants to be your dad look across on him, because he loves everyone. He wants to see good in the world, and he does see good in the world, and it's unfortunate, given the circumstances of his life. I could babble about him too, but I won't, because that would take up the whole video. And then the last character I draw when I finish fixing Pipit's little nose is a kitten character who I absolutely did not use a reference for, which is a very, very poor decision on my behalf. His name is Silverkit, and I completely was winging it while drawing him. Again, I kept the round features and big old eyes on him because he's a curious baby. He's like 2 moons old, he doesn't know what's going on in the world. I gave him baby doll eyelashes, tried to make him look cute and innocent and kind of stupid because he is not the brightest kitten in the box. Kept his cheeks relatively pudgy. I really stayed in on the circle for drawing his head just because, again, babies generally have rounder heads. They're not as angular. He doesn't do anything but eat and, I guess, trip into ponds and die. And I put little question marks around his head to emphasize the fact that he's confused. And then the fun part, coloring, which I sped up even more, even though it doesn't look too sped up. I'm going to give a lot of credit where it's due when it comes to me coloring, in the fact that I've been watching a lot of Tennille Flowers is Drawing a Blank, which, if you haven't drawn it and you want a more in-depth, less scattered discussion of character design, please watch them. They helped a lot. It's the reason why I have multiple cats that are black furred or gray furred in this, and you'll notice that I never use straight black or straight gray, and I even make gracklefox later on look very, very purple. And the reason for that is Tennille pointed out that tinting the colors of your gray and black characters not only make them look different from one another, but it also helps to give them more personality or in subtle ways like that. Like for Juniper Face, he's a silver tabby, he's supposed to be pretty, and I associate blue and those kinds of colors with pretty. I don't really know why. And also juniper berries in general, which he's named after, are gray or blue in color, so it seemed appropriate, and I guess it worked out all right. I can't explain why Vulture Cry, the first cat, I can't explain why he's more brown and like a yellowish tint. It just kind of seemed right. I think I just went off his eyes. Brine Frost here, you can see, has a weird purpley blue undertone to him because of his name, Brine Frost, which makes me think of harsh purples or blues and stuff like that. And it also really helps accentuate like the color of his eyes, which are this icy blue color. And he's supposed to be pretty looking, and I shaded with red and then turned it to pink because I suck at coming out of my comfort zone. And then with Claypaw here, as I was coloring him, I realized he looked just like Firepaw, or how a lot of people draw Firepaw. You'll also notice for his design, especially with those breeds of cats, I know a lot of people will like blend the colors together to make it look more natural, but I find myself avoiding doing that because I find if you just, I guess, smother a drawing with the blend tool for these kinds of markings, it just gets muddled together and it's messy and it doesn't look too great in my opinion. So I try to avoid doing that and stuck more to just cutting it off into little sections of color. Shaded with reddish, bluish, pinkish, whatever, so on and so forth. And here we go, another tuxedo, black and white tabby. I'm kind of glad I drew Badger Claw and Gracklefox next to each other, because you see Badger Claw has a much redder undertone. Even the whites I use on them, they're not solid white, because it really helps to kind of blend them together. It looks nice, doesn't look bland. A solid black and white character is kind of boring, and it's harder to shade black colors. Like solid blacks, solid grays, because the shading doesn't turn out right no matter how much multiply you put onto it, and I've noticed that. And here we go. Gracklefox is a fun one to work with. You can even get out of your comfort zone and not make things as desaturated and try to literally make him look purple. And that could be because his original character was actually based on a character from Danganronpa, who, for those of you who know of Danganronpa, Kokichiyama, and his color is he's heavily associated with the color purple, so that's mainly why I made Gracklefox purple, but also because purple contrasts very, very nicely against his eyes, which, I don't know, I love bringing attention to those pretty orange eyes of his, even though he's a snake, and he doesn't deserve to look pretty, but he does. And even with brown tabbies, which the Warrior Cats franchise has a lot of brown tabbies that all end up looking the same, you can tint your brown colors certain colors too, as weird as that sounds. Like with Pipit, I made him a lot more dingy, and in his original design, he was very, very like saturated and not as dusty colored, but it kind of came to my attention that he looks a little more dusty in color. He looks better when he's dusty, because like a Pipit bird isn't that rich brown color really, and I kind of want to emphasize Pipit's kind of like an average dude. He's nothing really special. He's just a dad friend. So I wanted to make him look friendly and round. I kept his tabby stripes circular and rounded, and if I drew the rest of his body, maybe I'll do that later, those stripes would continue to be round and sparse, because I've learned to not murder my wrist by drawing tabby stripes realistically, because I don't have time for that anymore. And with Silverkit, you can see I tint his colors as well, and you can also see that I have no idea how to draw a Burmese cat, so I just kind of bullshitted my way through it, unfortunately. Gave him big baby blue eyes, little sheen, cute little nose and whatnot. There's not much else to talk about as I go through and just add eye shading and whatnot, besides the fact that I hope you enjoyed this to some extent. I had a lot of fun making it. I'm going to come back in with my terrible audio editing skills and say if anybody is interested in another speed paint like this, or has suggestions for characters that I can draw and break down their design, maybe like I'm thinking of recording me doing a drawing of Gracklefox's reference or pipitpetal, and you can hear me babble about my actual characters or the thoughts that go into how I draw them, how I break same face, all that kind of fun stuff. Just leave a little comment, or even just at me on Twitter and bother me there, because I'll listen and maybe do it. Who knows? I'm doing the 30-day Warrior Cats drawing challenge, so I could maybe draw Blue Star next week. I don't know. I just want to add variation due to the fact that I don't do a lot of animation on here anymore. It's mostly PMV work, and I don't want the channel to die. I kind of want to keep things rolling a little bit as I'm getting older, and I'm having a lot of fun with character design, and I don't know, it seems fun to do speed paints and actually interact with the community around me. So if you're interested, just give me a little pat on the head. Maybe yeah, I'll debate it. My semester of public speaking did not prepare me for this, and I sincerely apologize for the lack of professionalism. I'm literally recording into a karaoke mic with a sock on it. So that's how my life's going.